Battling the fight. One West Texas girl brings a community together to raise awareness for childhood cancer. And picking the perfect pumpkin. One patch owns the bragging rights for the biggest pumpkins in all of West Texas. And later, Alexa is getting a deeper voice. One of Hollywood's biggest actors is joining in on the fun. If you had a choice, whose voice would you want to hear? Text us 325-400-8785.
An extreme drought. The latest drought monitor showing our desperate need for rain.
Fox West Texas Live at 9 starts now.
Now, we'll get to those stories in just a minute, but first, a second vaping-related death now confirmed in Oregon. The Oregon Health Authority reports the latest death among 5 reported cases in the Beaver State. Now, the first death happened earlier this year. State health officials say that the person had been hospitalized with respiratory symptoms after vaping cannabis products, which was bought from a licensed retailer. Now, there has been more than 800 cases of severe lung illness, all linked to vaping in 46 states, mostly with teens and young adults. Tim?
Thanks, Phoenix. Now, parenting is hard, and keeping your kids safe is even harder in the age of social media. But it's not just kids using apps in the wrong way. Now, some parents are using technology to track their child's every move, while others completely ignore their child's social media lives altogether.
Parenting is fraught with decisions that feel like they're the most important decision in the history of decisions. But the problem is sometimes that's true.
Dr. Aaron Krasnow doesn't pull any punches as a psychologist talking to parents about modern-day parenting.
When we're raising small humans, some of those moments are incredibly critical.
It's the logic behind helicopter parenting, or hovering over your kid's every move, like this now viral screenshot of a parent using a GPS tracker app to follow Alexa around everywhere. The app even lets them know how fast she's driving, and even when she needs to charge her phone.
We need all the help we can get.
Yuri and Jill are some of the parents using a similar app.
Safe driving, I think this, is the element for us. So if he goes over speed, we do have some notifications based on that element, and it's an open dialogue with him. He knows we're monitoring, so it keeps everybody a little bit honest.
Honesty is key, according to Dr. Krasnow, who says these apps are okay, as long as everyone is aware.
As long as there is an agreement that it's being used in the best interest of the child and not only based on the fear of the parent or only the mistrust of the child, which is often how these things are used.
Better than ignoring technology altogether, like the tragic story of a Mesa teen dying by suicide, just days after saying she was suicidal on Twitter. Clearly the signs were missed.
Look at websites or to look at social media channels. And I do encourage parents to take an active role in that regard.
Now, I'm certainly not a fan of the helicopter parenting. However, with today's day and age of social media, I would not want to raise a child right now. I don't even know where to go with it.
Yes, but what I gotta say is, yes, they're talking about parenting, but what concerns me with a situation like this is with an abusive relationship. Let's say you have a gentleman or you have a guy or a girl that's very overly controlling. Well, now they can control this other person in a very dangerous way, knowing where they are and things like that. And how is it that someone can get out of an abusive relationship?
Yeah, this is a huge conversation. We want to hear from you. You can always text us. Remember, be a part of that conversation. What do you think about this over-controlling type of app, and do you condone that behavior as so-called helicopter parenting? Text us 325-400-8785.
Thanks, guys. One of the questions I always get asked, especially now that we're in fall, when are the leaves going to change here in West Texas? And I gotta be honest with you, if you're new here, you may be in for some disappointment because it's certainly nothing like they see in the upper Great Plains, and it's going to take some time for it to happen. Before we show you this fall foliage map, keep in mind the leaves changing colors is really kind of 2 parts, and I won't dive too much into the biological sciences of it, but keep in mind cooler temperatures, that helps turn the leaves, and then also the length of daylight, which in turn also would be cooler temperatures. When the length of daylight gets smaller, well, we don't warm up as fast or certainly as hot as we could be as we get into the afternoon. So if you want to see some of the photos right now or take photos with your pumpkin spice latte, you have to head up north. We're talking parts of upstate New York and the upper Great Plains. That's already happened. When we look at parts of early October, then we see that kind of drift down into parts of Colorado, Wyoming, also northern sections of Wisconsin, and a good chunk of the New England area as well, up towards the Appalachia. That will happen as we get towards mid-October. That extends close closer to Texas, but it isn't until late October that we start to see the leaves begin to change across parts of the Panhandle and also as you get down into parts of the Carolinas. And then finally by November, that's when we look at not only the fall leaves changing across a good section of the country, but likely having impacts in parts of West Texas too. So not everyone will see it here in the short term, but there is cooler weather on the way that will help us in this process. That entire forecast is coming up in just a few minutes.
San Angelo Fire Department responded to a location off Pulliam Street for a structure fire this afternoon. A contracting crew was demolishing a building and accidentally caught beams on fire with a torch. Battalion Chief Jay Neely said that the construction crew had most of the fire out when he and his team arrived to the scene.
No injuries, and it was all going to be demolished anyway, so there's no damage that wasn't going to be thrown away anyway, so it's a good thing.
There's no confirmation on who owns the warehouse. 1 truck and 3 firefighters responded to the scene.
A 36-year-old San Angelo man was airlifted to Lubbock Area Hospital for injuries he sustained during an early morning fiery crash outside Central Fire Station. SAPD was dispatched to West 1st Street in North Coingham around 1 a.m. this morning. Officers found the driver, Luis Chavez Padilla, suffering from burns and other very serious injuries. Padilla was transported to Shannon Medical Center ambulance for initial treatment. It was also revealed that Padilla was traveling at a very high speed when his motorcycle left the roadway and collided with a light pole. State Bank and Walgreens are located in downtown San Angelo when a white Chrysler minivan was southbound on Abe and Chevy in a Chevy Astro van on eastbound Harris when the driver of the Chrysler minivan ran a red light and hit the Chevy Astro van. Now, medics were called on the scene and there was 0 fatalities that were reported.
The driver of the Astro van was seen by medics on scene but refused to go to the hospital. There was a citation issued to the driver of the Chrysler van for the disregard of the red light.
San Angelo Fire Rescue and San Angelo Police Department also responded to the scene.
We have been following the story of a little girl from West Texas who has been battling the fight of her life against cancer. And tonight, the city of Abilene backs her up. Ana Vera has the details.
A year ago, I had the pleasure of meeting now 10-year-old Sierra Husing and her family. They were having a hard time as they found out Sierra was battling a rare type of cancer. But now they remain strong, and the city of Abilene is making a big announcement in their honor.
As mayor, and on behalf of the members of Abilene City Council, I encourage continued research into treatments for childhood cancer, access to care for patients, support for families, and continued care for survivors.
During the weekly City Council meeting, Mayor Anthony Williams proclaimed the month of September as National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, an effort that the Husing family, along with other local families that have been affected by childhood cancer, were present for.
Once your child is diagnosed with cancer, it never goes away. You may finish treatment. They may have surgery, and some don't survive. And forever, we have to do this.
Sierra was diagnosed with synovial sarcoma at just 8 years old, and her mother explained how there aren't any pediatric cancer facilities nearby. Other families shared their journey as well.
We lost our son 2 months ago from synovial sarcoma on his birthday.
Others like Susanna Daniels celebrated her stepdaughter being a survivor, and all the family stood together in a room full of supporters.
We all have babies, but when it hits your baby, it's a different world. So,
and we can't do it alone,
no.
For sure.
Knowing that we have people to stand together and to fight whatever it is that's going on, because everybody's diagnosis is different, but we're all fighting the same battle.
For Fox West Texas, I'm Ana Vera.